Welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss, and each weekday we'll share enthusiasm for what's possible and dive into the stories of Iowans living their dream lives right here in the heartland. Whether you're chasing a big goal or just looking for a little inspiration, we've got you covered. Let's change the world together. This is Living the Dream Iowa Life. Let's go. Heyo, welcome to Living the Dream Iowa Life podcast. I'm your host, Hannah Nuss. Boom, ba-dum, bum, bum. And we are going to get right into it today, but not before discussing my bank situation. Okay, sorry, had to bring it here. I know, every childhood dream starts and ends with bangs, right? How many horror stories? Oh, I guess I just wanted bangs. Chop right at the forehead line instead of right across the eyebrow line, and boom, you're forever reliving those kindergarten photos. Either way, it's a childhood dream. I did have a bang success story. Okay. Over the weekend, my sister and I were discussing Halloween costumes, which certainly no adults need to be thinking about because we don't really party or drink or do many fun things, so we wouldn't be invited to an adult Halloween costume party, and so the thought of me wearing a costume anywhere is rather absurd. But either way, we were discussing that, that we might get these matching costumes, and we would become our American Girl dolls because they actually have that costume. And for those of you who don't know, the Molly series and owning a Molly American Girl doll literally changed my life and what I thought of myself. But it was a big deal. I remember that gift very well. I still have my Molly American Girl doll. It's a big deal. It was a big deal. And so we were discussing this, and I was like, oh, okay, well, in this costume, it comes with everything but the wig. And my sister said, well, you don't really need the wig, do you? And I was like, whoa, OMG. Molly McIntyre and Hannah Nuss have the same haircut? Say it isn't so. Say it isn't so. Say that Molly and I could not have matching bangs with braids under a blue beret. Say that couldn't happen. And boom, shakalaka. It can. We can. We can match, Molly and I. And so we will. But equal bang loss, because that was a huge win and I don't have to get a wig and all the things. But in terms of bang losses, yesterday I forgot that I had bangs at all. I readily ran out of the shower because I was running late, and I just kind of, I don't even know that I thought about my hair at all. I just sort of threw it and then went and completely forgot that I had bangs. And so I don't even know what they were doing yesterday, what happened. I didn't have a clip, so I couldn't even just get rid of them altogether. They're too short to throw up in a ponytail, so they were just living their best life, as they are today. They aren't quite sure. Are we going straight? Are you curling me? What's happening? And so just for all of you who consider bangs, in your little kid self who just wants bangs, just wants a different look, I will say it does not come without a lot of sacrifice and the reality that every once in a while you will catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and realize that you are nothing but a third-grade boy with a bowl cut. Sometimes they will look like that. Other times you'll be like, who is that sassy, sophisticated, put together, haven't showered in 3 days, but wearing a messy bun and looking all kinds of fabulous person in the mirror, but also third grade boy? And there really is not a whole lot of balance between either. The look could be a sheer turn left or right. It's that close. And owning bangs is a whole new level of awareness, just to prepare you. So that is not what we're discussing today, but I did have to kind of root ourselves in the reality of bangs. And then we're going to go on this journey today because because of the wonderful things he does. Because I think that it is paramount to everywhere that we have been. So the question today is, does everything begin with our roots? And yes, it does. And what I will say is, in more practice and study of the chakras and how we exist in these energetic states of being, we definitely can operate in our higher chakras, more of our aloof, visionary friends who have big, huge dreams, sort of always floating above everyone and everything. These people kind of just always coming and going, no real roots, just floating. And we can operate up here. We certainly can. And people who do are amazing, and they do so many great things in this world. But in order to find true balance, we have to sort of intersect and play in the energy of all. And so roots and security really help us build on that energy. And finally, help us to intersect all and find ourselves in the heart chakra, sort of gravitating and spinning and able to cleanly play energetically up and down the chakra, unlock our full Kundalini energy. The serpent unspindles, and we are this powerful being that can exist in all energetic levels. And is it impossible to do without rooting? And my thought is this. Yeah. We have to have that base of those essential needs being met. So in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you would like to go more scientific instead of more hippy-dippy, which we're going to find a new term for it, because I do think it's spiritual, but I almost don't even feel like that's the right word. I truly believe that this is just the science of energy within our bodies. And once we get to know that better, we can understand the cyclical nature of our energy flow and how we either kind of spin in the lowers and just forever repeat, never finding our power and raising up to the love level where we can finally raise into those top chakras. And I think these are people who operate in the lowers. And maybe there are two kinds of people. We're just talking this all out right now. Maybe there are people who naturally operate in the lowers. And I would say my husband and my firstborn are lowers people. Okay? They like to be grounded in what is known. They like the truth. They like the law. They like rules. They like specific ways of things being. Okay? They like to play it safe. They like things the way they like the things they like. Okay? They're down here. They're loving the law. Now, I would say if it came to myself and my youngest daughter, we like to play it fast and loose. We like to create big visions, and we don't think there's any one particular way that we need to get there. We like to imagine all the ways that we could get there, and we will probably want to go every single which way. There is no one way. There is only the infinite possibilities of every way that could ever be imagined. What an exciting endeavor. Where my husband and my firstborn, they would say, that sounds like the worst endeavor that we could ever go on. There has to be one specific way. There has to be a right way. And we would say, if there is a right way, then that probably is the wrong way for us. We like the ability to go into the unknown. We like the ability to just sort of free flow into whatever is going to be. That would be our natural state, which makes our family this really beautiful and delicate balance, all balanced in love, right? That's where we come together. And it does take a lot of love and acceptance in order for us to understand and balance these extreme differences in how we choose or how we energetically exist in this world naturally. Now, very important for our lower chakra friends to get into their higher, even if it's not how they naturally respond to this world. It's important for them to be able to dance in that world, because if they can't, we won't be able to kind of play and do and imagine and create something bigger than what is safe and secure. And if they can't come up there and they can't imagine with us, and they can't even just play or travel or move into the unknown in some way, if they can't dance that dance or find that balance, if they can't go there with us, it's going to be really hard for our higher chakra souls to understand and relate, because we're constantly having to come down instead of sometimes they're coming up. And we're able to live and love in our natural state. And sometimes we're able to come down and live and love in your natural state. And it is a constant ebb and flow. Like, hey, I get it. You need to feel safe and secure, and you need to know what the weather is. And I will validate that. And what do you need from me in order to do that? Okay, so we need budgets and structures and strict deadlines and timelines. Cool. I can dance that dance if that's what makes you feel comfortable and confident. This is not where I prefer to dance, but I certainly can and will learn that dance for you and with you, and we will grow through this together. And what a beautiful rhythm. And we must be able to root. And I would say for our higher, I like to do dreams, and I like to think big, wild, preposterous things. Obviously, I am an author, podcaster, entrepreneur in Iowa. I think there are probably a few places on the map where that description makes very little sense, and this for sure is one of them. And so I'm good with the wild, the imaginative, the big, big, far reaching dreams that no one thought possible. I'm good with that. I think that's epic. And I can't wait to be a part of that. And I am good with rooting and figuring out where we need to be so that we can eventually bridge that gap and get everywhere that we're supposed to. And rooting took a very long time for me. Because when things get hard, they get strict, there is discipline. Yeah, all those things. Even as I'm saying it, I'm just kind of like constricting and withering away and scrunching up my whole body. Like, why do we have to do these things? I'm an uppers type of lady. Don't make me do it. However, I understand that my husband being that person set up our family to put us in a place of security and stability. And because of that security and stability, I finally had enough of a base, even though it was a fight. And for a while, I would even try to disrupt it. Like, no, there's got to be a problem here. Here, I'm going to make a problem sometimes just to keep things interesting because this is the only relationship I ever had modeled for me. Like, we should be fighting. I don't know. What do we talk about if we're just talking? What? We're not fighting? And I would try to create problems. And then we experience this kind of next level of security and safety. And eventually I stop trying to disrupt that because I finally get to a place where I can create. And so I'm not using that energy for working up my own drama anymore. I'm actually putting it into something. I start creating. I start this show, even though I never published it. But I started it. I started recording. I started creating. I started writing a little bit. And once I did that, I could finally get to this place where I had something to take action on. And I think oftentimes we spend so much energy in that creative phase because it feels so good. And the next natural step is actually putting that in motion, putting it out in the world, uh, publishing it, writing the words or speaking them and saying them on a stage somewhere, all these things. We're putting ideas down and then we're putting them into the world. And that one takes a little while. That would be the yellow book. This is why we start with the yellow book, why everything was yellow, that stepping into the power, space, and finally putting something into motion. Yeah. And then the green book, which I think I should have a final front cover today or tomorrow. Yay. And the little green book. That is about the journey after you let that ego down and the identity of nothingness that you may face if you have taken that drastic step to go after your dreams. And the heart of that peace and the love, the self-love that's required to make it through a moment like that. And while I wish that I could have, I really wish if I could really wish all the wishes that I could have wrote this all in one book, that I didn't have 7 books to write. But I do love the development of my own voice. I do love getting into the writing process and kind of creating a discipline of it. I do love moving through that. I do. I hate it because it's lower, right? Like, I just want to free float and write in coffee shops and not have any structure whatsoever and just take my laptop places. No, this cannot be, friend. This cannot be. It is this really, I mean, hey, sometimes when I write in the morning, I have a different kind of tea. Okay? I know. La 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 la. Sometimes I'm not just drinking a ginger tea. Yeah, I know. This week I had peach ginger. So, yeah, imagine. I know. I know. Um, but it just it feels so great. Whole in my soul. Amazing. And this movement into the heart chakra, into a practice of self love. And self love can only meet in the middle of all energetic centers coming together. Because we are not only meant to operate in the safe, create power, right? In this almost egotistical, I have all my needs met and I'm not going to continue rising up. I'm just going to stay here and keep cycling because this feels good. I have my needs met. I can just keep kind of challenging myself with more egotistical tasks. We're not meant to stay there. We're meant to step into love, which then takes us on this rainbow bridge all the way up to connection to our higher power. And people who have that higher power connection automatically, because they're not operating in the lowers predominantly. And most people who are operating in the highers probably went through some trauma or were saved from all trauma and had a really great childhood where that was protected, where they did have opportunities to tap in and stay tapped in to that sacred center of knowing. They stayed loved and they knew how to love themselves, and so they could keep that flow of energy going. There was never a disruption. Powerful. Something that I hope to give my own children. This connection, and while I can't save them from everything, I can keep as much of that intact, keep them out of only existing in the lowers. And even though my daughter is very strongly rooted, we have worked very hard to make sure that she stay connected to that higher power truth. And it's tough. Oh, I would say with daughters specifically, in that sort of self-love maturity that they're going through right at about their teenage years, being around that energy of self-hate is very normal, very natural. If you have watched Mean Girls, it's really funny because there's a scene where all the girls are looking at themselves and like, my pores are big and my hips are wide and I wish that I had thinner elbows. And they look back at the one girl, at Katie, and she's just like, I'm ugly too. But she was so, it was so abnormal for her to hate herself because she had grown up in this really beautiful existence where that wasn't something that was talked about, that wasn't something that was over normalized. This idea of self-hate. And not that that conversation's never going to be had, just that hopefully they stand in their knowing enough to resist it, to even stand up for their own friend. Hey, no, you're actually really awesome. And not even belittle themselves at all, because that's not a speak that they understand. And that's a lot of work. And at that age, that's really tough. It's really tough, especially now with socials and all the things. We talk about this all the time. But to expand and stay in that natural cycle of continuing that childhood experimentation, the literal example of what it looks like to stay in high frequency, to stay in high energy, to do the things that you want, and then to love yourself into them, to get into that state of flow, to just play and enjoy. That is a protected space, and one that we are, I would say we're pretty obsessed with it. Even when they were in preschool, um, and daycares, we looked for daycares that were play centric. I think we were kind of obsessed with sticking to the norms when our oldest was going into preschool, and it was like, no, we have to go to preschool. But I still think we were having conversations about how often are they playing? Is this correct? Are we sure that this is what we should be doing? Just a ton of thought around that. And now I think the protection of that play space, the protection of the opportunity to perform and expand on just things that they want to do and try, that range for us is really important, something that we are adamant about. They have had opportunities to kind of get into more intense play opportunities, and we have just said no. Like, there's not enough balance in this activity. There's not enough room for the other things that they want to explore. And so we are out. And those are hard things to say, even committing to a play centric um, raising is really tough when they're young. And, we're electronic free and have been since they were very little. So that can be a tough balance. That's a tough line to walk, just with how much of that stuff there is out there. And I don't, I think for us, even though we wouldn't have had this language then, keeping that energetic center and allowing them to continue experimenting and experiencing their own higher power, their own higher energy, to get them into flow states in whatever it is that they're doing, to keep them there and to have them experience that in many things. Because once we learn the way in one, we learn the way in all. So if they can tap into and get into flow in volleyball, then they can do it when they're in the musical. Then they know how to do it when they're playing basketball. Then they know how to do it when they are writing an article. Then they know how to keep them tapped into understanding how to get into that flow state energetically, not just physically. And I think we kind of overdo the physical. I think the physical is really important, especially with our youth, because it is kind of the easiest to tap into, to experience that higher level. And at the same time, kind of the most difficult, just because there's a whole lot of balance that has to come there. There's a whole lot of love and acceptance that has to come into training in a way that can get you to that level. And so we are just watching that unfold. And for me, it all started with rooting, unquestionably. And without that root, without that balance of our family unit, without me coming to a love and acceptance point that, hey, husband, this is what you need from me in order for this to work well, in order for us to be in harmony, okay, I will figure out how to come down. I will figure out how to root, and I will stop uprooting us because you need safety. And so do I. We all need safety and security and stability. But my natural state is the opposite, is free flowing and flying everywhere that I can. But in order for us to exist together, to build a life together, I had to come down for a little while. And he has to go up once in a while. It is a balance, constantly. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world.